At 3:17 a.m., I wrapped my daughter's lunchbox and kissed her goodnight, while her father poured champagne for another woman. When I told him to lower his voice, he smirked and said, "Relax. She's her real mom now." That's when I stopped talking and started planning. There was no screaming, no smashing plates, no accusations, just silence. The kind of silence that settles into your bones, sharp and permanent like frostbite. I went back to the kitchen, closed the bento box lid gently and placed it in the fridge. Heart-shaped strawberries, a panda rice mold, a tiny thermos of soup. Everything lovingly made for a daughter who now called another woman Mommy Tina. From the living room I could hear Tina giggle. Her voice had that sickening sweetness, like syrup on something already rotten. "She's so uptight, Eric. No wonder your daughter clings to me instead." Then a cork popped. More laughter. More of my own money poured into their glasses. I stared at the fridge door until the light timer blinked off. They thought I was defeated, that I was too soft, too quiet to push back. But they had mistaken silence for surrender. By 3:30 a.m. I was in my daughter's room watching her sleep. Her little arms curled around a stuffed unicorn, one I'd bought with my bonus check 3 years ago. Her mouth twitched like she was trying to say something in her dreams. I brushed her hair behind her ear and whispered, "I'm sorry. You won't understand right now. But one day you'll thank me." I didn't cry. I couldn't afford to. At 4 a.m. I opened my laptop, cleared the browser history and searched for listings. Apartments, studio rentals, anything close to my old office downtown. I found one. Small, clean, unfurnished. Move-in ready. That was all I needed. At 4:12 I transferred half of the savings account, yes, the one labeled for Leah's college fund, into a private account only I could access. I didn't want to, but I knew what Eric would do once I was gone. He'd drain everything and smile while doing it. This was preservation, not theft. By 4:45, I had packed 2 suitcases. One for clothes. The other for files, bank cards, birth certificates, a few photos and Leah's hospital bracelet from the day she was born. I left behind the wedding ring he hadn't noticed I'd stopped wearing weeks ago. I didn't wake Leah. I couldn't take her. Not yet. Because the truth is the courts wouldn't believe me. They'd see a father with a stable home, a stepmother figure with a social media presence, and a mother with no current address and a sudden breakdown. So I'd play the long game. I left a note not for him but for Leah. Hidden behind her mirror, taped to the back like a secret. "I love you more than anything. I'm not gone. I'm just getting stronger. Wait for me." By 5:20 a.m. I was gone. The sunrise came late that day, muted behind gray clouds. The kind of sky that looks like it's about to pour but never does. Like it's holding something in. Just like I was. The apartment was nothing fancy. A second-floor walk-up with peeling paint and a fridge that hummed louder than my thoughts. But it was mine. And no one would pour champagne here for someone else. For the first time in 6 years, I had silence that was mine alone. I made coffee and watched the sunrise from the fire escape. My phone buzzed once. Eric. I didn't answer. He didn't leave a voicemail. Probably didn't care. Or assumed I'd be crawling back by breakfast. By 9 a.m. I was in line at the government office changing my emergency contacts, passwords and setting up a mail redirect. A woman ahead of me was holding a screaming baby and trying not to cry. She glanced at me and said, "You look like someone who just walked out of a war zone." I smiled. That's because I did. Over the next few days, Eric sent a few lazy texts. "Are you staying at your mom's? Leah's asking where you went. You're being immature." I didn't reply. On the 4th day he sent a photo. Leah wearing Tina's sunglasses and grinning like she was trying to make herself like it. "See? She's happy. Tina's doing great. Don't worry." I stared at that photo for 20 minutes. Not because I was hurt, but because of what I noticed. Leah's smile didn't reach her eyes. She was wearing my necklace. The one I wore every time she had a recital. Tina had taken it from my dresser. They were already rewriting my role. I closed the message and blocked his number. Then something unexpected happened. On the 7th day I received a package. No return address. Inside was a music sheet. Handwritten. Sloppy but familiar. It was Leah's favorite lullaby. The one I used to hum to her when she couldn't sleep. Tucked inside was a small note. I tried to play this, but Tina yelled at me for being loud. I miss your cooking. Do you miss me too? I didn't cry then either. I made a decision. If Eric thought replacing me was easy, I'd show him what a real mother could do. But I wouldn't do it with arguments or drama. I'd do it by thriving. I'd build a life so bright that it would cast a shadow over theirs. He said Tina was the better mom. Fine. Let's see how long she lasts once the performance cracks. Because I wasn't just a mother. I was the storm they never saw coming. The week after I disappeared, the world around me adjusted like I never existed. Or at least that's how Eric wanted it to look. Tina changed her Instagram bio to Bonus Mom's Sparkling Heart, and posted a carousel of smiling selfies with Leah, captioned, Blended Family, Strong Hearts. I watched from a burner account. One photo caught my attention. Leah was in the corner holding a cupcake, eyes fixed on the floor, not smiling. Eric looked straight into the camera, one hand on Tina's waist like they were high schoolers at prom. Caption. Thank you for making us whole again. Oh, he said again, like I was a wound they had just healed. Like I hadn't scrubbed vomit off Leah's sheets at 2 a.m. or pulled double shifts to keep her ballet lessons paid. I was the glue and they were calling themselves a sculpture. Fine. Let them pose. Let them try. Because while they were busy editing their narrative, I was rewriting my life in ink. The apartment wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet. And clean. And honest. I filled it with second-hand furniture from a local thrift shop. A used bookshelf. A wobbly table. A desk where I reopened my laptop and began piecing together the shell of my old business. Before Leah was born, I was a design consultant. Small contracts. Startups. App wireframes. Eric made me shut it down. Said I wasn't focused enough on being a wife and mother. Said I was wasting time. But I hadn't forgotten anything. And now I wasn't wasting a second. By day, I worked quietly on client drafts, rebuilding my portfolio and emailing old contacts. By night, I watched cooking shows just to feel something warm. Sometimes I burned dinner just to smell smoke that wasn't emotional. On the 11th night, I got a message from someone I hadn't expected. Mrs. Wren, Leah's former piano teacher. Hi. I'm not prying, but Leah hasn't shown up in 2 lessons. She usually never misses. Is everything all right? My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Should I respond? Would it make things worse? I typed. I'm no longer with them. They didn't tell you. Pause. Then. No. And Leah cried the last time she was here. Said she forgot her music sheet and Tina told her to stop acting like a baby. That doesn't sound like your daughter. No, it didn't. My chest tightened. Thank you for telling me. She misses you. I didn't reply after that. I couldn't. But something inside me started forming. A sharp, quiet plan. Tina wanted my role? Then she should live the whole story. On the 14th day, a parent from Leah's school posted in a local Facebook group. Anyone else notice Leah seems off? She never used to act out. Heard she pushed a boy in class today. The thread had 29 comments before it was removed. Someone even uploaded a blurry picture of her in the schoolyard. Hair unbrushed, shoes on the wrong feet. And then a voicemail from the school. Hi, Ms. We're not sure who to call anymore, but Leah's father isn't answering. It's about her behavior. Could we talk? I didn't return the call. Not because I didn't care, but because I was documenting every missed pickup, every teacher complaint, every social media post of Tina drinking wine while Leah sat in the background unsupervised. I was collecting receipts. Not for revenge, at least not the loud kind. For leverage. Real leverage. You see, the world doesn't always believe a woman's tears, but it listens when she builds a file. By day 21, Tina's Instagram had gone quiet. Stories deleted. Comments turned off. But she couldn't help herself. The mask slipped. One night she posted a story from the kitchen. She was yelling at Leah. You seriously can't make toast without burning it? What are you, 5? Your mom must have coddled you too much. Go to your room. Now. The audio was clear. Too clear. Then just as quickly it was gone. But I'd already saved it. The cracks were widening. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Are you happy now? She hates me. Are you proud? Eric. I stared at the screen and smiled. He was unraveling. You said she was better off without me. Figure it out, Dad. No reply. I slept peacefully that night. But peace didn't last long. On day 29 my phone rang. It was a number I hadn't seen in months. I ignored it. Then it called again. And again. I finally picked up on the fourth try. It was Leah. She didn't speak at first. Just breathed. Then, Mom. I held my breath. Hey baby. I burned the cupcake. That was all she said. And all she needed to. I swallowed hard. It's okay. No, Tina yelled at me. Said I was stupid. She said you would have messed it up too. But I remember. You always got them just right. I closed my eyes. I miss your cupcakes. I miss you more, I whispered. Can I come see you? My heart surged. But I knew the game wasn't over. Not yet, sweetheart. But soon. Pause. Then, I left something in my room. It's under the vent by the closet. It's for you. I bit my lip. How will I get it? Another pause. I'll find a way. Then she hung up. I didn't hear from her again for 3 more days. But during those days something changed in me. The rage became something cleaner. Not hate. Not spite. Just resolve. I wasn't trying to destroy their world anymore. I was preparing to reclaim mine. And I had just taken my first real step. The envelope arrived folded in half, hidden inside a manila package of charity flyers from a neighbor near our old neighborhood. No return name. But I didn't need one. I tore it open on the kitchen counter like I was defusing a bomb. Inside was a single wrinkled sheet of notebook paper. My daughter's handwriting. It began. Hi Mom. I hope you don't hate me. I don't like Tina. I'm scared of her when she yells. Daddy said I have to love her. But I don't. I only want you. A tear slid down my cheek before I even realized it. I hid this because Tina takes my things. She reads my diary. She said I'm ungrateful if I miss you. She calls you names and says you're gone forever. I swallowed hard. I know I said I liked her before. That was a lie. I was trying to make Daddy happy. I don't want her to be my mom. Please come back. Please. At the bottom was a tiny drawing. Me, Leah, and a cake. No Tina. No Eric. I held the paper to my chest like it was a beating heart. He was still in there, my girl. Despite their lies. Despite the manipulation. But I couldn't storm in. Not yet. I needed to be smarter than Eric, faster than Tina, and louder than their perfect social media lies. So I called a lawyer. Her name was May. Young, sharp, divorced, and according to her bio, not afraid to burn paper in court. She didn't flinch when I told her everything. You've got texts, a video, a statement from the piano teacher, diary entries, and now this note, she said, flipping pages quickly. What you don't have yet is custody. But we can fix that. What do I do next? You disappear, officially. Let me do the rest. While May began filing an emergency petition for temporary custody due to emotional endangerment, I kept watching. Eric had stopped posting altogether, but Tina couldn't resist one last stab. She uploaded a filtered, overly bright story of Leah at a dinner table. The caption, "No more bedtime battles." Finally acting like a real family, 2 hearts, #happy home. But the camera caught more than she realized. In the corner, barely visible, was Leah's hand, shoved tightly into her lap, clenching a fork. Her face was turned just out of frame. I zoomed in. He was crying. That was all I needed. I sent the screenshot to May. Perfect, she texted back. It's time to play offense. The next week moved like molasses. I waited, watched, logged everything. Tina screamed at a Starbucks barista and called him trash for spelling her name wrong. Eric got into a passive-aggressive comments war on LinkedIn after losing another brand deal. Their perfect image cracked, then shattered. And on a Tuesday morning at 8:17 a.m., my phone rang. Judge signed the emergency order, May said, triumphant. You now have legal right to take your daughter home. I sat in my car, heart pounding like a drumline. She won't see it coming, May added. She doesn't have to, I whispered. I'm not going there for her. The school office had already been notified. The principal was sympathetic and arranged a meeting room where Leah would wait quietly until I arrived. When I walked in, she was curled in a chair, hugging her unicorn backpack. She looked up, then froze. Mom. I crouched down and opened my arms. She ran into them like she was trying to outrun the whole world. I knew you'd come, she whispered. I promised, didn't I? We didn't say much after that. We didn't have to. As we walked out of the school, I noticed a familiar car parked across the street. Eric's. He stepped out fast, eyes wide. Isabella, what the hell are you doing here? I held up the court order. Taking back what's mine. You can't just. I can. The court says I can. And unless you want this entire parking lot to know what Tina screams behind closed doors, I suggest you step back. He did. Leah stared at him coldly. I don't want to go back. Eric's face crumpled like wet paper. Leah, you don't mean that. She's my mom. Not Tina. That was the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Not panic. Not anger. Real raw fear. Because he knew what was coming. We left without another word. When we got home, Leah wandered the apartment slowly. She ran her hands along the couch. Touched the magnets on the fridge. Peered at the bookshelf like it was a museum. Is this where you live now? For now, I said. It's not much. It's perfect. She smiled. That night I made her favorite dinner. We watched cartoons on a shared blanket and made popcorn in a dented pan. She fell asleep with her head on my shoulder, one arm wrapped around my elbow like she was afraid I'd disappear. And for the first time in a long time I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt real again. But we weren't finished. Because Tina wasn't going to take this lightly. Sure enough, the next morning she went nuclear. A long manic Facebook post exploded on the local parenting group. Some people don't deserve second chances. Some women use children like tools. Everyone thinks she's so strong. But try living with her. Leah's confused. She needs consistency. I was just trying to help. And then, we won't give up. This isn't over. I closed the browser. Oh, it's over, I said to myself. You just don't know it yet. Because while they were still screaming into the void, I had something they could never fake. A daughter who knew the truth. And a courtroom waiting to hear it. The court hearing was scheduled for Friday at 10 a.m. By Wednesday morning, Tina had already posted 2 more tantrums online. One was a video of her crying into the camera, calling me a manipulator who abandoned her child and came crawling back for attention. The second was worse. She hinted that I had mental health problems, and that Leah was too young to know what's good for her. I sent both to May, who replied within 5 minutes. Fantastic. Let her keep talking. Eric stayed unusually quiet. Probably because he knew his social media was still under investigation for using Leah in branded content without my consent. If he said one wrong word, it could cost him more than just custody. It could cost him his sponsorships, contracts, and whatever was left of his reputation. Meanwhile, I prepared. I gathered printouts, photos of Leah's bruises from a fall Tina ignored, texts where Eric casually dismissed my concern over Leah's missed medical checkups, and a written statement from the school counselor, who had spoken with Leah about her nightmares involving Tina yelling and locking her in the bathroom during a timeout. The night before the hearing, Leah was unusually quiet. She stared at the ceiling while I tucked her in. Mom, she whispered. What if the judge says I have to go back? I leaned down and kissed her forehead. He won't. Because this time we're telling the truth. She bit her lip. If he does, can I run away again? That hit me harder than any insult Eric had ever thrown. No, I said. You won't have to. She nodded and turned toward the wall. I watched her for a long time after she fell asleep. This wasn't just a custody hearing anymore. It was war. Friday came gray and cold. Rain smeared the courthouse windows as we arrived. May met us at the entrance, crisp in a navy suit and holding a folder so thick it looked like a dissertation on bad parenting. Inside, Eric and Tina sat stiffly at the far end of the hall. Eric avoided my gaze. Tina wore designer sunglasses indoors and tapped furiously on her phone. When the judge entered the courtroom, the room fell silent. "Let's begin," he said. May spoke first. Calm, composed, cutting. She laid out a timeline of abandonment, manipulation, and documented emotional harm. She presented Leah's school records, counseling notes, social media screenshots, and even a time-stamped photo of Tina drinking wine while supervising Leah's homework. The piece de resistance was the diary entry. The judge asked, "Do we have confirmation that this was written by the child?" "Yes, Your Honor," May said. "We've verified handwriting and confirmed the original is stored securely." Then came Tina's turn. She stood up dramatically, voice trembling. "I love Leah. I've done my best to be a mother figure while her real mother walked out. I was only trying to help." "Help?" the judge said, raising an eyebrow. "By telling a child her mother is gone forever? That's taken out of context. And this." He held up the printed screenshot of her yelling in the kitchen. "Also out of context? She was misbehaving." "You're not the parent," he cut her off. Eric finally spoke weakly. "We were overwhelmed. I didn't mean for things to get so out of hand." May stood again. "Your Honor, my client didn't disappear. She retreated for her safety and her daughter's. And while she was gone, these two decided to replace her. Publicly. Illegally. And emotionally." There was silence. The kind that feels like it's holding its breath. Then the judge turned to me. "Would you like to say anything?" I stood. "My daughter once told me she burned a cupcake and got yelled at. She said she missed my cooking and my voice. I stayed away to protect her. But I came back because she asked me to. And I won't leave her again." Leah squeezed my hand from her seat behind me. The judge nodded slowly. Then delivered the ruling. Sole legal custody to the mother, Isabella Chin. Visitation rights for the father may be re-evaluated after parenting therapy and court-mandated counseling. Step-parent figure to have no unsupervised contact. Tina gasped. Eric closed his eyes. I exhaled. It was over. Or so I thought. We were halfway down the courthouse steps when Tina snapped. "You smug little witch," she snarled, lunging toward me. "You think you've won?" Security pulled her back. Cameras caught everything. Reporters had already started gathering outside after hearing about the viral social media drama tied to our case. Tina's face would be on 100 screens by sunset. "You humiliated me," she shrieked. "I gave up everything for this family." I smiled calmly. "Then I guess you've got nothing left." As we turned to leave, Eric ran up behind us. "Wait," he called out. "Can we talk?" I turned around slowly. Leah held onto my coat. "About what?" "Big, small, older, pathetic." I just wanted to say, I didn't know she'd treat Leah that way. "You didn't care." I was stupid. Look, I just wanted peace." "No," I said. "You wanted silence. And now you have it." He stared at me for a second too long. Like he might say something noble. Something human. Then he looked at Leah. "Kiddo." She stepped behind me. He nodded once, almost like he expected that. Then walked away. That night we ordered takeout and ate on the floor. Leah asked if she could sleep in my bed. I said yes. Before she dozed off, she said, "Mom?" "Yes. You're stronger than any mom I know." I kissed her hair. "So are you." In the dim light, I watched her chest rise and fall with each peaceful breath. I thought about Tina, probably tearing through the apartment like a tornado. Eric probably blaming everyone but himself. Their house of lies was crumbling. Mine was just beginning to be rebuilt. Brick by quiet brick. The morning after the hearing, my inbox overflowed. Articles. Blog posts. Parenting forums. Everyone suddenly had something to say about our story. Stepmom screams on camera during custody battle. Judge rules against father. Bonus mom or PR nightmare. The case that sparked a parenting debate. Apparently, some reporter had been sitting in the courtroom, scribbling notes like their life depended on it. I hadn't noticed. But now I was viral. I didn't care. But Eric did. I knew at the moment I got the email from one of his old clients. "Hi Isabella. I just wanted to reach out privately and say, I'm sorry. We had no idea it was this bad." I've withdrawn all brand partnerships from Eric's agency. Wishing you and Leah peace. One line. That's all it took. Eric's house of cards began to fall faster than even I expected. His client list thinned. His phone calls went unanswered. Sponsors pulled out of every influencer campaign involving him and Tina. Some rebranded publicly, posting statements like, "We stand against emotional abuse." Tina posted a now-deleted video of herself sobbing in a car, screaming, "I never asked for this. I was just trying to help." She tagged 3 parenting bloggers. One of them responded with, "Girl, sit down." I won. On paper, in court, in headlines. But even victories like these leave bruises. Ya woke up 3 nights in a row with nightmares. He never screamed, never cried out loud. She'd just walk to my room in silence, curl beside me and whisper, "Are you still here?" "Yes, baby," I'd reply each time. "I'm right here." On the 4th night, I made her favorite breakfast at 3 a.m. Banana pancakes with chocolate chips in the shape of a smiley face. She giggled when she saw it. "You used to make this when I was sick," she said. "Even when I just had fake tummy aches." I raised an eyebrow. "Those weren't real." "No," she grinned. "I just wanted to stay home with you." That hit me harder than all of Tina's lies combined. I laughed through the lump in my throat. "Next time just ask. You don't need fake aches." She looked at her plate. But back then, I didn't think I could. The unspoken pain between those words was louder than any courtroom argument. We were healing slowly. But the world around us wasn't done spinning. 2 days later, my lawyer May called again. "Eric's filed an appeal. Wants supervised visits." "Let him appeal," I said calmly. "I have no reason to be afraid anymore." May hesitated. "That's not all. He's also filed to freeze access to your joint assets. Claims he's entitled to 50% of the money you've made since separation." I almost laughed. "He's trying to sue me for the life I rebuilt after he replaced me?" "Pretty much." I took a breath. "What do you need from me?" "Every receipt. Every contract. Everything you built without him." "No problem." Because unlike before, I had kept track of everything. He underestimated me. That same evening, as I was organizing files, Leah called from her room. "Mom." I walked in. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by scattered papers. "What's all this?" "My memory box," she said. "I saved all the notes you put in my lunchboxes." She held one up. It was smudged with grape juice. "You're braver than you know. Love, Mom." She looked up at me. "I don't want to forget anything you did. I want to remember all of it." I knelt and hugged her. "You won't forget," I whispered. "Not if I have anything to do with it." Leah began asking more questions that week. "Why did Daddy lie? Did you cry a lot when you left? Was I a bad kid?" Each time I answered with honesty, not bitterness. "Your dad made choices that hurt both of us. But he's still your dad." "Yes, but you didn't leave me. You just left him." I blinked. He got it. She finally understood the difference. And that realization, that clarity, meant more than any judge's signature. By the end of the month, I had finalized new contracts for my design consultancy. I was back in control, managing clients and setting my own hours so I could pick Leah up from school every day. Eric, meanwhile, had moved out of the apartment he once shared with Tina. Rumor had it, Tina took the couch, the espresso machine, and their shared influencer camera. She'd started selling weight loss teas again. Eric's latest social post, his first in weeks, was a vague quote card that said, "Sometimes life falls apart so better things can fall together." He forgot to disable the comments. Someone replied, "Like a custody battle?" One day, Leah and I were at the grocery store. She was wearing her favorite hoodie, bouncing beside the cart. A woman approached us, middle-aged, gentle face, holding a bouquet. "You're her, right?" she asked softly. I hesitated. "Depends." She smiled. "I just wanted to say, your story made me brave. I left my own Eric last month. Your daughter's lucky to have you." I swallowed the lump in my throat again. "Thank you." After she left, Leah looked up at me. What did she mean? I pushed the cart forward. "She meant we're not alone." Leah nodded. "Good. Because I like being with you." And I realized then, this wasn't just my story anymore. It was Leah's too. The daughter they tried to break. But couldn't. The girl they tried to brainwash, but who wrote her truth in a hidden letter. And the woman they discarded, who didn't come back for revenge. He came back to win. It started with flowers. A cheap bouquet of supermarket roses appeared on our doorstep, wrapped in clear plastic, already browning at the edges. No card. No note. Just the scent of last-minute guilt. I threw them in the bin before Leah could see. The next day a letter arrived. Handwritten. 2 pages, shaky penmanship. From Eric. I never meant for things to go this far. I got swept up in something I didn't understand. You were always stronger than me, too strong. I think I resented that. Tina was just easier. That word again. Easier. As if my strength was a flaw. As if the way I held our family together was some unbearable weight for his fragile ego. I miss our daughter. I want a chance to make things right. Maybe we could all sit down and talk for Leah's sake. He signed it with a name I hadn't seen in months. Your husband, Eric. I folded the letter and slid it into the back of my filing cabinet, next to the court orders. That night I told May. He wants to talk. She didn't even blink. He's losing money, reputation, control, and his daughter. Talking is the last tool he has. He's not seeking reconciliation. He's managing optics. I figured. But if you want to meet, I can advise. Just, don't go alone. I didn't need her to tell me that. The next evening he called. I picked up. He sounded tired. Like someone who hadn't been sleeping. Probably hadn't. Regret keeps people up at night, but only when it's real. This wasn't regret. This was desperation. I miss her, he said. And I miss you. I said nothing. Can we talk? We're talking now. He hesitated. I mean face to face. No. Why not? I leaned back in my chair. Because I finally stopped needing your permission to exist. That conversation is over. Isabella, please. Leah should have both parents. She has one. The one who stayed. The one who didn't trade her for views and validation. His silence on the other end said everything. I hung up. Leah never asked about the call. But I think she knew. He was changing too. Healing faster than I'd expected. Picking out her own clothes, making her own breakfast, choosing her own bedtime stories again. The other day she asked if she could call her piano teacher to start lessons again. That nearly made me cry. Do you want to play for fun or practice for performance? I asked. She smiled. For me. Not for him. That told me everything. Still, Eric wasn't done. On a Sunday afternoon, we were sitting on a park bench watching ducks when a shadow approached. Leah flinched before I even looked up. It was him. Hair unwashed. Wearing the same coat I'd bought for him 2 birthdays ago. Hi, he said. I stood, immediately stepping between him and Leah. This isn't your time. I just wanted to see her. You've seen her. Now leave. He looked at Leah. Sweetheart, can we talk? She didn't answer. He crouched. I miss you. I made mistakes, but you know I love you, right? Leah's voice was low. But steady. No, you loved how quiet I was. You loved when I agreed with everything. That's not love. Eric blinked. Who told you that? You did, she said. Every day you made me choose Tina. He stood slowly, staring at her like she was a ghost. Then turned to me. She's different. No, I said. She's just finally safe. He looked like he might say something more, but a second later he walked off without a word. We stayed at the park a while longer. Leah didn't ask about him. Didn't cry. She just held my hand a little tighter and asked if we could get ice cream. That night I blocked his number permanently. He'd had his chances. We were done. A week later, Leah came home from school holding a drawing. I made a new family tree, she said. She unfolded it on the table. I expected to see Tina's name scratched out. Eric's name pushed to the side. But it was more than that. There was me. At the center. Underneath, a line led to Leah. Beside me, instead of a partner, she'd drawn a son. You didn't draw Dad. I didn't forget him, she said. I just didn't know where to put him. I nodded. That's okay. He made his choice, she added. So I made mine. Later that night she taped it on the wall above her bed. That same night I received another delivery, this time from a lawyer I didn't know. Eric had defaulted on a brand loan and was now trying to liquidate shared assets from the past. I declined the request with one sentence. Tell him his most valuable asset left the day I did. Weeks passed. Seasons shifted. Tina faded from relevance, last seen on a live stream complaining about how real moms are so judgmental. Eric's page went dark. Their shared accounts were deleted. Meanwhile, I got invited to speak at a women's networking conference. Topic: Reclaiming your voice after silence. I almost declined. Then Leah saw the invite and said, "You should go. They'll learn something." So I went. At the end of my talk, a woman approached me teary-eyed. "You left quietly. But your story was loud enough to wake me up." And just like that, I knew it was worth it. Everything. The nights I'd questioned myself. The days I doubted whether Leah would ever understand. The moments I almost went back. All worth it. Because strength isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It just doesn't break. My life didn't return to normal. It evolved. There was no going back to the woman who quietly bent herself into silence to hold a home together. That version of me had burned herself down so that my daughter could rise. Now we both stood taller. My design firm, once buried in storage folders and dust, was thriving. Clients came from referrals. A few knew my story and wanted to support me. Others simply respected the work. I didn't care either way. I worked 4 days a week, picked Leah up from school on time, and even enrolled her in a weekend pottery class she begged for with wide eyes and sticky fingers. One Friday afternoon, after she flung clay all over her shoes and proudly brought home a lopsided mug, she handed it to me. "It's ugly," she said. "But it's mine. I made it." I held it like treasure. "It's not ugly. It's real. That makes it perfect." We were both learning how to shape things again with different hands, different clay, and a little less fear. But the world has a way of circling back. 2 months after the court ruling, I ran into one of Eric's former coworkers at a networking mixer. He looked startled when he recognized me. "Oh, Isabella. Well, didn't expect to see you here." I raised my glass slightly. "I didn't expect to be here either. But here we are." He leaned in conspiratorially. "You didn't hear it from me, but Eric's agency is folding. Legal issues. Unpaid invoices. One client even filed fraud over inflated numbers." "Is that so?" I said, sipping my wine. "That's unfortunate." He paused. "He always said you were intense. But I see now, you're the one who held everything together." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Let the world figure it out in pieces. I wasn't interested in being vindicated loudly. I was too busy living. But life, as always, delivers its final blows when you least expect them. It came on a Tuesday. A courier knocked at my door with a thin envelope. Inside was a typed letter. Short. Plain. Eric had been arrested overseas. Fraud. A failed investment scheme with a cryptocurrency startup in Singapore. Tina was reportedly involved too, using fake influencer credentials to boost investor confidence. When things went south, she fled. He was caught. No bail. Extradition pending. At the bottom of the letter was a request. As next of kin, you may be contacted for updates regarding his legal proceedings. I laughed so hard I startled Leah. "Everything okay?" she asked from the other room. "Just someone trying to reach me from the past." She patted over, squinting at the paper in my hand. "Is he in trouble?" "Yes." She didn't ask more. He didn't need to. She just sat next to me, folded her legs, and pulled out a school project. "Do you want to help me design my speech for the assembly?" "Of course." The topic was, someone you admire. She wrote about me. Not a celebrity. Not a fictional hero. Not even her teacher. Me. She read it aloud that night as we practiced. "My mom is brave. Not because she fights loud, but because she walks away quietly. She didn't stay in a place that didn't love her. She left and made something better." I had to turn away. He kept reading. "I used to think being strong meant yelling or winning. But my mom taught me it just means protecting yourself. And sometimes, It means protecting the people who hurt you, by making sure they can't hurt you again. She paused. Then looked up. Too much. No, I whispered. It's perfect. That weekend we went hiking. Nothing fancy, just a quiet trail near the lake. At one point, Leah ran ahead and turned back, grinning. You're slow. I'm peaceful, I shouted back. There's a difference. She laughed and it echoed through the trees. When we reached the lookout point, we sat on the bench and watched the sky melt into the lake. I brought something, she said. She pulled a small box from her backpack. Inside were 3 carnations. Not store-bought. Paper ones. Handmade. Remember when I only gave you flowers that one time? I remember. Well, I wanted to give them again. But better. He placed them in my hand. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Because this was what real healing looked like. Not dramatic, not loud. Just small, honest acts of return. We stayed until the sun dipped low and the shadows stretched long across the trail. Later that night, I got a notification on my phone. Eric's mugshot. The headline read, Former influencer agency CEO detained after international investment scam. I showed it to no one. I simply smiled, then archived it. His story had ended where it belonged, in a box he built himself. Mine wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about peace. And the daughter who bloomed through the cracks of everything they tried to break. It's strange how peace arrives. Not with celebration. Not with fanfare. Just silence. It was a rainy Sunday when the final letter came. This one wasn't from a lawyer or a judge. It was handwritten. Planted. Careful. As if every word had weight. It was from Eric. I hesitated to open it. My first instinct was to toss it unopened into the trash. But something made me pause. I waited until Leah was asleep. The house was still. Outside, the rain tapped on the window like a slow metronome. Then I unfolded it. Isabella. I suppose this is the last time I'll ever write to you. They say I'll be in here for at least 6 years. Fraud, misrepresentation, theft. Take your pick. Apparently I was a very busy man. But had time to think. Too much time. About the choices I made. About Tina. About Leah. About you. I closed my eyes. Of course he had time to think. Prison gives you plenty of it. I was selfish. I confused your strength for arrogance. Your silence for indifference. But now, sitting in a cell with nothing but regret echoing off the walls, I see it. You weren't cold. You were holding back from burning everything down. He was right. I never burned it down. I just walked away. I know it's too late. I don't expect forgiveness. And I'm not writing to ask for it. I wanted to say that if Leah ever asks what kind of man her father was, you have every right to tell the truth. But also tell her. I saw the light too late. And I'm sorry I couldn't change fast enough to be the man you both deserved. He signed it Eric, not your husband, this time. That, at least, was accurate. I folded the letter and placed it in the back of the drawer, not to preserve it. Just to keep it from contaminating the air. The next morning I made coffee and watched the lights spill through the kitchen window. Leah padded in, yawning, her hair sticking up in 10 directions. Morning, she mumbled. Morning, superstar. She blinked sleepily. Did I do something amazing in my dreams? You do something amazing just by waking up. She smiled, half asleep. That's cheesy. Good, I said. Life needs cheese. After breakfast she dug through her backpack and pulled out a note. We wrote about our dreams in class, she said. I made 2. I raised an eyebrow. 2. 1 for school. And 1 for me. She handed me the second one. Scrawled on crumpled paper in purple gel pen. I want to be a mom like mine. She doesn't yell. She doesn't break. She just walks away from things that don't love her. I stared at the words for a long time. You're already braver than I was at your age, I whispered. You helped me be, she said. That weekend we visited my college friend Mia, who ran a retreat center in the mountains. Wooden cabins, crisp air, and paths lined with wildflowers. Leah helped her collect herbs for tea and played with the local kids while I sat on the porch with a warm mug. You look taller, Mia said. I'm standing straighter. You're glowing. Peace does that. She smiled. It took you long enough. Yeah, I nodded. But I didn't just escape. I rebuilt. That night, under a sky pricked with stars, I watched Leah point out constellations with a flashlight. "This one's ours," she said. "The one with the crooked line." "Why that one?" "Because we're not perfect," she said, "but we're together." Weeks passed. The seasons shifted again. We painted Leah's room a new color. Lavender. She picked it because it felt soft and brave at the same time. Her words. Not mine. Every Friday we had a ritual. Movie night, popcorn, and a question. That week's question was, if you could send your younger self a letter, what would you say? Leah said, "Don't trust everyone who smiles at you." I said, "You don't have to earn love by shrinking." She blinked. "Did you used to shrink?" "For years." "And now?" I looked around at our tiny, safe, beautiful life. "Now I expand." On Leah's next birthday, a large gift box arrived. No name. Inside was a laptop, high-end, expensive. Too expensive. And a card. For Leah. "I know I wasn't a good father, but maybe I can give you tools to build something better than what I gave you. Happy birthday." I didn't show her. Instead, I sold the laptop and donated the money to a shelter for women starting over. When Leah asked, "Did Dad send anything?" I looked her in the eyes. "Yes," I said. "He sent the past. And I returned it." She nodded. "Good." The final twist came 3 years later. Leah stood in front of her class during a college entrance interview, presenting her final essay. "My family wasn't perfect. It was broken. And at one point I thought the cracks were my fault. But then I saw my mother stand up after being trampled. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just chose herself. And choosing herself meant choosing me. I learned that the strongest people aren't the ones who shout. They're the ones who survive, quietly, deliberately, and completely." She taught me to never apologize for being loud with love and silent with strength. The room clapped. I stood in the back watching her from the shadows. And I smiled. Because in the end I didn't just raise a daughter. I raised a witness. A survivor. A storm. And when people say, "Didn't you leave quietly?" I still say, yes. But what I don't say is, that silence was the loudest thing I've ever done.